Welcome to HP Tuner's GM Gen 5 Training Part 45. In this training module, we're going to be exploring how to work with secondary fuel injection, whether we're going to be working with port injection or with meth injection in conjunction with our direct injection. We need to make sure that our fuel delivery is going to be right in full throttle, open loop type of conditions. We're going to be exploring how we can fix our fuel modeling, bringing in extra additional fuel. We're going to have a lot to cover. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with secondary fuel injection on our GM Gen 5 vehicles. Secondary fuel injection is going to be port injection or meth injection. You might be spraying additional fuel into your engine because you simply can't get enough fuel through the direct injection system. If you upgraded your high pressure pump, your low pressure pump, and your fuel injectors, and you're still falling short of how much fuel we can deliver for the horsepower we're trying to reach, well, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to run lean, and we don't want that to happen. So we need to bring extra fuel in. This can be either through meth injection, spraying methanol and water mixture into our engine, or through a supplemental port fuel injection with another port injection controller. There's all kinds of kits on the market. We can deliver extra fuel into the engine. We're going to run into a huge problem, though, if we're finding that our fuel and airflow model is accounting for a certain amount of air mass coming in and then a certain amount of fuel mass that has to be sprayed in relation to the air mass. If we're bringing in additional fuel, the fuel mass to injector pulse width conversion, it's going to be all skewed because we're going to be delivering too much fuel. The engine control module is not going to understand what is going on. So we have to come up with a way that we can characterize the port injection or the meth injection as it's being sprayed coming into the engine, how we can scale back on what's coming out of the direct injector itself. So we need to go in and work with some of our injector data to be able to compensate for this specific condition. It's actually relatively simple, but we need to go through the process here and just understand how this is all going to work so it's very clear as to what you're actually editing and modifying. So first things first, I want to go and jump in. Let's find our injector data real quick here. I have my 2018 Yukon Denali calibration file open. Let's jump in here to engine, and then we're going to go from our general tab here over into fuel, and then fuel into general, and then general down in here into our flow rate and all the associated injector data tables here. Now, when we're working with the direct injection system, as I just mentioned here just a minute ago, we have our underlining fuel and airflow model equation. Fuel mass is equal to air mass divided by target air fuel. So for a given air mass coming into the engine, we specify a certain target air fuel, closed loop that's 1.0, EQ ratio, stoichiometric, or if we're in power enrichment, that's going to be a richer EQ ratio. And in that situation, it's going to have a richer target air fuel. We have, knowing the air mass, knowing the target air fuel, we can figure out a fuel mass. The fuel mass gets converted into an injector pulse width, knowing our injector flow rate, knowing the offset and the short pulse width outer corrections. Adding all of that together, we get a corrected injector pulse width. If everything is right within our fuel and airflow modeling, we'll hit that target air fuel with no deviation or difference. So that's when everything is calibrated and everything is working within the engine control module properly and modeling everything. If we start to spray the secondary fuel, we're going to get in a situation where we have too much fuel coming into the engine. Well, we have no way to properly characterize this. We have no table in the programming language here that can allow us to say, okay, secondary injection spraying with a secondary injection controller. This would be an aftermarket subcontroller. There's all kinds of options on the market, or a meth injection kit where we're spraying the additional meth in and the meth controller brain is controlling when that additional meth and how much meth is coming into the engine. So the engine control module here doesn't understand what's going on externally. Those are external fuel sourcing devices that don't tie into the programming language here. How do we get around the situation so we don't run rich and we don't skew our fuel and airflow modeling relationship? Now, the biggest thing here, because the Gen 5s are torque based, and we know that everything relies heavily on accurate air mass reporting, from the cylinder air mass being a scaling factor into our spark tables, into our variable cam control tables, and as well as any of the torque modeling, if we start to skew the air mass side of things. So say we're spraying that water meth, or we're spraying the secondary fuel through port injectors in addition to the direct injection, and all of a sudden we run rich. Well, we don't want to jump into the mass airflow table and scale down the air mass reporting. We don't want to jump into the speed density tables and scale down the estimated air mass reporting. If we do that, that will affect what's going on with the cylinder air mass calculation and then also affect the torque calculations. So everything's going to get all out of whack when we do that. We want to try to keep the engine control module in its best calibration. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.